And welcome back to day 31 of Survivor 50 seasons in 50 days. I just finished watching Survivor Cambodia, Second Chances. Jeremy Collins sweeps the jury. And a season that for the longest time was probably my second favorite season of all time. And I will say that this time it did drop a considerable amount. So I can't wait to talk all about that. Today, I am joined by Phil of The Specialist, making his third appearance.
What were the other two seasons I did? I know I did it once. I did it twice.
Yeah, you did it twice. Okay, so 42 I had you for I have the list pulled up on my phone, but of course I can't remember what it was.
Yeah, I'm literally trying to look right now as well.
40 I can't remember who you, because you were on with someone. I have you Cook Islands for the last time I did it.
Okay.
And then I guess I could just keyword search.
It was probably Co-Wrong, man. Right? You guys always just use me for Co-Wrong because of Michelle.
But Phil, thank you so much for making yet another appearance here to, talk about a season that I feel like people have put on a pedestal for a very long time. And I also feel like because we just finished 50, this is kind of the season that we can compare, the most recent season we can compare it to, because I don't really put this and Game Changers in the same type category. So I guess the first question is, just looking at that ballot back when it first came out of who's going to make it, who's not. One, did you vote? And were there any people that really surprised you didn't make it?
Did I vote? Drew, I voted nonstop, man. I was the guy. I had to keep creating the burner accounts. I was like the people who were voting for Natalie Anderson in the winners bracket. I just had to keep making accounts so I could get my people through. Savage, Terry, those were my two guys. That's who I was most excited for. I felt like they actually deserved second chances. Savage, I feel like nobody will ever fit the second chance theme more than him. And I was voting for him like crazy because I didn't think he had a shot. I thought at that time Terry was less than 10 years removed from playing. Really popular when he played the first time around. I figured he had enough legs. He made it all the way to final three, but Savage goes out before the merge. I mean, Shane's obviously the shocker. Shane is the one where you're like, how the heck did he not end up getting put on that cast? From the female perspective, T-Bird got screwed. T-Bird should have been on. Honestly, Stephanie Valencia should have been on too. Monica Padilla was just kind of thrown in there to be thrown in there. Kimmy was fine. I'm not mad that Kimmy got put on there. But yeah, for me, T-Bird should have absolutely been on. Really makes one of the first air quotes moves in Survivor history. And I think it's a shame that we never got to see her. But yeah, I voted nonstop. If you go back and look at our videos from back then, we were using Google Hangouts. And instead of having this, you were allowed to put a little logo in the corner. And I know Will and we did the W and the P for the longest time. And then I had Savage as my guy for pretty much the entirety of Worlds Apart. That's who I just kept putting in the bottom corner. So yeah, all in on voting for second chance. And I wouldn't be mad if they did it again.
And we're going to get to that a little later. Now, I had Mario Alonso in here yesterday, and he was basically running the Jeff Varner account. So it worked out for him. And I would say that Jeff Varner is one of those people that, in the bubble of where we were at that point, it's okay, I remember Jeff. I'd be cool with him coming back, see what kind of sassy bullshit he wants to say this time. And then we got enough of that in the 4 episodes that he's there, 3 or 4 episodes that he's there. Shane Powers, so during the Worlds Apart reunion, they cut to the people being nominated in the back, and Shane's already pouting back there, which leads me to believe that he probably knew he wasn't making it, or he was just
or that's just Shane.
Yeah, or it's just Shane. The intro of the season very much compares itself to season 50, where we just get basically everyone's backstory as they're entering into the game. I feel like it really lays the groundwork of what we are going to get with a lot of these players this season. Jeff talking to Kelly Wigglesworth and basically saying, hey, you lost. And then it cuts to Steven and Woo. Woo's going to catch a lot of shit from Jeff this season, including after Woo is gone. I really want to start with talking about Stephen Fishback, though, because we talked about it yesterday, where it kind of feels like we're slowly getting that era of, if you consider yourself a super fan, the edit's going to do their best to make you look stupid. And in that premiere episode, he's just getting this overly goofball edit to the point where obviously Savage doesn't trust him because Skinny Ryan. What were your thoughts on Stephen Fishback 2.0?
I think Stephen Fishback 2.0 gets hated on too much. I think that Stephen Fishback 2.0 plays the game. Like, I think Stephen Fishback he's good. I mean, we see the same Stephen. It's just we're seeing this version of Stephen where he's no longer in power, where he is dealing with the demons of having JT beat the crap out of him 7-0. And honestly, Stephen's one of those guys who gets it, right? Like, a lot of people who go and play Survivor, they understand what the producers are trying to get from them, and there's other people who don't. I'm not saying that Stephen played it up at all, but Stephen knew that the season was called Second Chance, and he knew that they wanted to hear about his second chance. And so Stephen really does tell the story over and over and over again about his second chance. And as Gabe says there, it was good the edit just made him obsessed with Joe. That was his story. His story was, can I get redemption for what happened to me the first time around, where I got blinded by the pretty boy? And pretty much he doesn't get redemption. But I actually think Stephen is really entertaining on this season. I think Stephen kind of, he essentially invents the voting block strategy. And I do think that there's a lot of positive to take from him. Honestly, if Andrew Savage doesn't get blindsided by Wentworth, I mean, there's a legitimate chance Jeremy, Stephen, and Savage are at least in the final 6. Who knows if they're actually sitting at final 3, but like, it seemed like there was a lot more potential there. And once Savage went, the whole game just opened up. But yeah, I think Stephen gets overhated.
Oh, yeah, and I agree with you. I like Stephen both 1 and 2. I think with 2, we do get more of, an unfavorable edit. But you can, as super fans, we can kind of read between the lines and see, oh, no, Stephen's doing the exact same thing. This is just him playing a little bit different so he doesn't end up in the same spot he wasn't in Token Chains. Someone who is kind of emulating what they did the first time and makes me like her even more this time around is Abby Maria. Because from jump, she has this one-sided rivalry with PG, at least on camera, bracelet gate, which leads to one of my favorite moments of all time of what's going on, PG. PG kind of just being like, I'm trying to talk about building a fire chimney. Are you a Abby Maria person, or I guess, have you always been one, or did she kind of grow on you as the years have progressed?
Okay, so here's my thing with Abby Maria. I was talking about this with Gordon Holmes during season 50. I think that there needs to be an Abby Maria on every season. Like, I think Say is Abby Maria. Say will tell you she's not Abby Maria, but that's fine. What we saw on TV is Abby Maria. And I think there need to be more Abby Marias on TV. I think that Survivor is missing that, because the thing is, Jeff says this whole thing about like, I don't want villains. I don't want any of that. When you talk to Abby Maria in real life, she's not a villain. Like, Abby Maria is great. Like, I'm not just saying that either. Like, I know that like sometimes you meet some of these players and, you don't want to like badmouth people. So you're like, yeah, they were really nice. It's like, no, Abby Maria is amazing. And so then all of a sudden she doesn't eat and she is an absolute monster. like you don't want to be around her. And so for me, I think that these types of players should be on every season. I think that in Philippines, she probably took up too much screen time from the rest of that yellow tribe. I would have probably liked to seen a little bit more from Pete. I think he's a super underrated character. I think that Lisa and Abby were probably too big. Artist totally falls to the background. We don't even know that he's there. Even Scoopin', which is a bad word nowadays, but like, he gets a bunch of confessionals early on and then vanishes for a long time in Philippines. They could have done a better job of editing that, maybe not making her like the only character for a long time there. But yeah, I'm in on Abby Maria. I think Abby Maria, I don't know if she'd work as well a third time, but I think this season worked really well for her because it was like totally different from what Philippines was. She got to be with the women on this season, or on that first season, she was kind of just stuck with who she was stuck with. I think the fact that whole like witches coven thing happened. Yeah. I mean, Abby Maria is entertaining, and I do appreciate her more when we go back because we don't get characters like her anymore.
And both times that she's played, she's shown that she understands what's going on in the game. This time she's saying, hey, I'm a goat. You might as well just take me. But she also understands, hey, we do need to get rid of Joe. I'm going to try to push this narrative so that Joe goes here. I would say that Abby 2.0 for me is my favorite because we get the bigger, we don't get the villain edit. We get the full picture edit of, okay, yeah, sometimes she just says things, and that's all right because we all do. But it's funnier probably because of the accent. I kind of going off what you said about meeting players in real life. There's only one Survivor player that I've ever met that I didn't enjoy and that I thought was a horrible human being, and Abby Maria is not one of those people. Like I've had nothing but great experiences. Quest for Fire. Now, this is a running, I guess, not gag in the season, but them bringing back challenges from the past. It used to annoy me. It was like, oh, you get a redemption of this. It's like, okay, this time around, it was a lot of fun. Are we surprised that they didn't just do something similar in 50?
No. You know why I'm not surprised, Drew? Ready for this? You ready for this? Which, by the way, you got to put this out on Instagram so I can share it so everybody knows that I'm about the shit talk. You ready? It's because it takes too much effort. You'd have to actually go back and look into which challenges did these people perform well at, which ones did they not perform well at, which ones can we pull something from Tocantins and run it again in Cambodia? Would that work? Can we go back all the way to Borneo and pull Quest for Fire? Sure, we can make that challenge and then actually make it have an interesting ending rather than just like, oh, I tripped once, we died. Like, you can actually do some exciting stuff. So for 50, why would they do that? The whole new era was the same stuff every single day. They weren't going to put any effort into not making it the same stuff. Come on, Drew. You know that. You know that.
They brought some motion from Tocantins to 50. I mean, we voted on it, but they brought some motion from Tocantins.
Yeah, because Samotion's the easiest build they have.
Also, the big thing that happens during Quest for Fire is, no, I think it is. Yeah. If not, it's the Kelly Wentworth idol moment. So have you ever seen the raw footage of this?
No, I have not.
It's amazing, and literally the only difference is there's no music telling you that this is an intense scene. It's still proper intense watching it from. I think it's I can't remember who.
Dalton, right?
It has to be. Yeah, it was Dalton Ross. But it's just from his perspective, and he's standing with all the cameramen, and you're just watching her in real time figure out what's going on. Now, in my notes, I have it as this season's idols are basically the, I guess, prototype for the Beware advantage. Because with the exception of Kelly finding the one under their camp, it is her and Jeremy basically putting themselves out there to find these advantages. How did you like this twist when it came to the idol?
I think they've screwed up not doing this more. I mean, you know, you always think about with every twist that Survivor or reality TV in general do. It's like if you do the twist, the goal is for that twist to have all possible outcomes, right? You want to see it work. You want to see it not work. You want to see a disaster moment. You want to see the great moment. We never saw anybody get caught trying to find an idol at a challenge. And I think that's a big miss in Survivor history, because what would you rather do, Drew? Would you rather watch somebody go play a game of Tetris, whatever the hell it was called? I used to remember what it was called, Toppled Up or whatever the hell, between Savannah and Colby. Or would you rather watch somebody competing in a challenge and needing to find that moment where they can go grab the idol and figure it out? And then maybe they do get caught. Maybe it is, you know, I was just watching Millennials vs. Gen X, and I know that's, you know, 2 days from now for you, but like, maybe it is that moment of Michaela walking up on Jay and Will going, what do you guys got there? And they're sitting there holding the idol. Like, what do you do? And having that happen at a challenge and then going home and trying to figure it out. I think it's great. I think it's great TV, like Gabe says there. And I think it's something that should be in Survivor. Like, it is a fun element. You know, and I don't think it's that hard. I think that's the other thing. I think the biggest difficulty of doing this is the challenges get so repetitive that it's like, okay, well, where can we hide it this time? And then you don't want people like tearing apart challenge sets. But at the same time, they should have.
They're going to kind of game it. Yeah. They would just game it and say, oh, the last 5 seasons they've done this challenge. The idol's been hitting in this exact spot.
Yeah.
So whether I have a clue or not doesn't matter. I can just kind of go after it and say, to hell with the rest of this. I want to show that I'm making big moves. Which, by the way, Bill, fun fact, the first 30 days, I would do a pre-merge drinking game based off of the funny 115.
Okay.
Obviously, it ends at 30. So today I had to make up my own rule where anytime the phrase big moves was made, I was going to take just a sip. The
How are you
problem
still
is
sitting here?
pre-merge, it's not said that much. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I'll
Mm,
just kind of leak into the merge. And I think after an episode and a half, I had to stop because I'm like, I still have to record tonight. And because this concept of big moves is in full force this season. This is, I would say, the official jump off of the big moves resume era, because Tasha says resume like 3 times this season. Sierra
yep.
Easton, not only did she vote out her mom in the majority, she's the one that is labeled with coming up with this concept of big moves, to the point where I feel like there's this misconception in our community that it takes big moves to win the game. And I want to kind of get your opinion on it because you've been covering Survivor for forever. From your point of view, is that the most important thing?
Jeff wants it to be, but he has made the game so that it will never be. And I think that's the funniest part, right? It's like you want to create, it's like Frankenstein, right? He wants to create life and instead he creates a monster, right? And then he has to now destroy the monster. And it's almost like Jeff saw this season, and Sierra just starts leaning into it because she realizes it's what Jeff wants to hear. And Jeff is kind of, use Jeff when you're playing Survivor. I think that's something that people miss. And if you're listening to this, use Jeff. I think when it comes to this thing, Jeff is almost serving as like a cheerleader for Sierra's plan, right? And so Sierra is saying, we got to make big moves, because she needs to get off the bottom. And now Jeff is saying big moves win Survivor. And Sierra's like, see, Jeff says it too. You're all here for your second chance. Don't you want Jeff to like you? And I think she leans into that really hard. I think the biggest problem is, though, the way that the game is designed in the 40s, you can't make big moves. I mean, we just saw it happen to Camilla this year. She decides to blindside Charlie instead of going with the status quo and voting out Rizzo. And she gets blindsided right away after that because she gets swap screwed. It happens over and over and over and over again. And no, I mean, if you go and look at the winners, what was Kenzie's big move?
Exactly.
Yeah, okay, she votes out Hunter, but that's not some major move. Like, what's Rachel's big move? Convincing Andy to pretty much tell his story? Great, but that's not the big move that Jeff is talking about, right? Like, Jeff is talking about
he's talking about, yes. He's talking about, and it's eye-opening this time watching the way that I do, of those moments where you can tell, hey, we want idol plays because this is what big moves are to the casual audience, even the super fans. As much as I don't like idols and advantages, I love the moments when they're played because it is good shit. It kind of felt like at some point the show kind of lost its way where it became, you have to have idols and all of this if you want to win. I keep going back to Karamo, and when Reynolds finds his second idol, he's like, I have 2 idols in Survivor. Like, this is what I need to win the game. It's like, no, it's not. It's not, because Cochran had 0. It's frustrating that we have now hit this point, and it's all downhill from here. We get the vote duplicate yesterday. We get the steal a vote today. We're going into we're getting the super idol back tomorrow. And it just keeps going.
They were so desperate for advantages that they put the stealer reward in Millennials vs. Gen X. Like, that's how desperate they were for this stuff. But then Tommy Sheehan broke it. And people don't give Tommy Sheehan any credit at all. But he broke it in Island of the Idols because he had nothing. He didn't win immunity. He didn't go to Island of the Idols. He didn't get any advantages. He didn't do any of the Beware shit. He just won Survivor. And that's the amazing thing. And that's why Tommy Sheehan, yes, that season gets pushed aside because of everything that happened in it. Really, it's one person, but gets pushed aside because of that. But Tommy Sheehan does not get credit in the community at all for the fact that he just went out there and played Survivor. Like, he just played a social game. Tommy Sheehan played one of the purest forms of Survivor, but did it in season 39 when there were 2 players serving as captains, just chilling on an island. Nonsense. Like, it really is nonsense that you have to make these big moves. And I actually think you're rewarded more often than not for not making big moves in the new era. I really believe that.
Yeah, the social game has always been the most important one to me. And the fact that, so people refer to Tommy, oh, he's a boring winner. What did he even do? It's like, he won. Who gives a shit what he did? He won the game. It like, the fact that we as a collective, and I know that we and you kind of agree on this, the fact that there are a lot of people in this community that feel like there has to be merit to a win. I always go, you're a football guy, Giants Patriots won. Mm-hmm. Greatest team of all time versus, I think the Giants were 9-7 that year.
I think they were 6 seed. Yep.
Yeah. Giants win the Super Bowl without any big wins during the season, except for the one big win that they need at the end of the season. And I think I compare social winners to that of, hey, I just showed you I don't need a all-time offense. I don't need an all-time deep. I don't need idols. I don't need to go to the Island of the Idols. I don't even need to win a bunch of immunities. I just go out there and be more likable than everybody else and go to the end with Nora and DK chilling. And I'm probably going to be all right. Probably. The other big storyline, this pre-merge, is something that I didn't enjoy in Winners at War and I didn't enjoy in 50, this old school, new school thing. Mm-hmm. Because especially in 40, I never believed that was really a thing. Here, it's old school, but they're showing Wu being a part of the old school. It's just more of a mentality than the players are involved with it. Do you think there was a way that they could have just shown what was actually going on outside of, it's just these old people just don't know what they're doing. The new people, what did you think about this storyline?
I didn't buy it. I think it just kind of became circumstantial. Like, even when I rewatched it, I just rewatched this season about a month ago. Because for our Patreon, we're doing them in order, and that's the season we got up to. And the thing is, Terry gets pulled from the game. Savage goes out in an epic blindside. They were aligning with newer school people. Like, Abby Maria's only friend other than Varner was Terry. Like, what are we talking about? And so for me, watching the season this time, I hate that the final five is from 2 of the 3 most recent seasons. I hate that it's all from 28 and 29. I think it puts a total damper on the outcome of this season and kind of ruins it for me, because old school fans, you want to see some chaos. That's why I like that it was Aubrey, Joe, and Jonathan. And in 4th place, you had Rizzo. And like, you did have Sari and Ozzy making it deep in 50. Here, it felt circumstantial because there was never a part of Keith, Kelly, Jeremy saying, hey, we all started on Hunapu. Let's go to the final 3 or let's get to the final 5. They never wanted to do that. And really, Tasha, Spencer, and Jeremy just happened circumstantially. Like, Jeremy thought that his closest ally in the game was Kimmy. And Kimmy decided to try to make a move to win the game and very easily could have won the game had she gotten to the end, had she made that move. Like, it doesn't feel real, but it's an easy story to tell because it's like I always say, if going back to a sports analogy, if a basketball team wins by the first game of the NBA Finals, the Knicks won by 10. They were losing by 1 with 3 minutes left. They didn't dominate that basketball game. They didn't kill the Spurs. They just happened to win because they got hot at the right time. Meanwhile, the next game, the Spurs lose by 1. And they're down by like 9 points with 3 minutes left. They were getting killed going into the 4th quarter. And so it's just interesting. You get these box score watchers. And so that happens in Survivor too, where you look at it and it's how many votes did you get against you? How many challenges did you win? All of your allies from previous seasons made it far. You're not actually watching the story that played on TV. You're just reading the box score. And this was like a box score storyline, in my opinion.
I appreciate you bringing that up because I get friends into watching Survivor all the time. It's one of my favorite hobbies, to get people to watch Survivor. And I remember one of the most raw things that someone has ever said to me, and I thought it was wrong, but whatever. Says, I don't know if I can like the Sari person. I think after the 3rd time she played, I was like, well, why? She's like, because as good as she like probably is, she doesn't win any challenges. So like, how good is she really? I'm like, and that's I'm so glad you as a new fan are saying that, because you now fit in with a lot of other people in this community that think that it is all about big moves, voting records, challenges, all of these things that are a part of the puzzle. I appreciate a lot of these things, but people kind of have forgotten what the show was. And the show was social experiment, get to the end based off of whatever you have to do, wheeling and dealing. And now it's how many idols you find, how many advantages you have, what big moves you made, and if not, the audience hates you. And it's very frustrating this time around because you can kind of see that moment that the show decided this is what we want the audience to care about. And I think it started basically in Kagayan, even though I enjoy Kagayan. I think it started in Kagayan. Spencer 2.0. I will say that every time Spencer has a moment where he is being emotional, I don't buy it. I can't buy it. It just comes off as trying to force himself to cry on camera. But I do enjoy Spencer for the most part this season because he has a fun storyline from being on the bottom of the Takeo tribe, I believe, making it all the way to the end. And it seems like of the three, he's probably the third most likely to win based off of what I'm seeing at Final Tribal. Spencer is one of 4 people from Kagayan to come back. Were you interested in a Spencer 2.0, and did he live up to whatever you kind of expected?
Okay, so I'm not as big of a fan of Spencer as most people are. I thought the whole first time he played, I was all in on Tony. And I remember Tyler Perry getting up there being like, I wanted Spencer to find it. I'm like, Tyler, like, what show are you watching? So many people loved Spencer. And I felt like there was something, look, I like the Spencer character, but I felt like there was something a little like inauthentic about it. And then I feel like season 31 just ramped it up to 1,000. I actually think Spencer's become, and now he goes by Riemann, I think he has become more authentic as he's moved away from Survivor. I think he's become more of who he wanted to be and everything. And I think this was, what is a 21, 22, 23-year-old playing Survivor who's a super fan and an economics student plays Survivor like? Like, what is that person? And I don't know, like, when it came to the 2.0s, like, if you were to ask me, I didn't need to see Spencer again. Honestly, I didn't need to see Tasha again. I've never been as high on Tasha as a lot of other people. Cass, of course, I wanted Cass there, but Wu, I didn't need either. Like, as much as I love Kagayan and as much as I love the cast of Kagayan, Tony, Sarah, and Cass, those are really like the only 3 that I absolutely needed to see play again. And I think that Spencer really damaged his reputation on this season, because I think Spencer would have almost been better off finishing like 5th or 6th place. And I think then you see him on 50. But I think him playing season 28, being the underdog, being the guy America's rooting for, then coming out and having this totally bizarre edit that makes no sense, they didn't know what to do with him anymore. And I think that's why I know he got cut from 50, kind of around when everybody else did. It makes sense to me, though, that he did get cut, because I don't think they know what his storyline would be.
I'm trying to have feelings this time is one of my favorite Spencer quotes, because it's the one that I laugh at the most, because it doesn't make any sense. You're not a sociopath. And it kind of comes off like, when I hear the phrase, I'm trying to have feelings, it's like, okay, you're either a sociopath or you're playing up to the camera. We have 2 swaps this season. We have a very early swap. We get one, I think 3 episodes later, for 1 round. And then we kind of go into the merge. I'm cool with swaps. I'm cool with, especially with just the 1 swap. 2 swaps for me has always been, now I don't understand the dynamics of what this is. I guess I'm not going to remember everyone that was on Bion and everyone that was on Takeo. I'm only paying attention to what I'm seeing in real time this week. And that is, I guess, one of the benefits to watching it the way that I do, is I can kind of sort of keep track of who comes from where. I don't need 2 swaps, personally. I'm cool with the 1, a few rounds in, and let's go to the merge and let's start the game proper. And we do this again in Game Changers. And I feel like Game Changers is I don't even know how to phrase this, a bastardized version of Second Chances, where it just kind of seems like we're going to do the exact same thing with people that didn't make the cast of Second Chances, plus a few more people. We're going to do these swaps here, and we're going to be even worse as far as editing to make you not Kelly Wigglesworth is a prime example of, she's in the premiere episode, she's purple forever, and then her boot episode, she's still purple, but we're now hearing that she's a threat.
Yeah.
The more I watched Cambodia today, it's like, they didn't pay attention to what was working, what was not, when they went into Game Changers. Would you where do you kind of fall on that?
I think that makes sense. I think the hardest part for them was they were trying to rewrite the show, if this makes sense. And I know this is going to sound crazy because, like, obviously the whole Varner thing is probably one of the ugliest thing that's ever happened on Survivor. It is, I would say it is the ugliest still to this day. But if you look at what they were trying to do with that Game Changers cast, they were going for like over the top positivity. Like they really were. Sandra's a villain, but Sandra is a very fun villain. Tony, same thing. And then you start looking at some of those more questionable choices. Haley, Sierra Dawn Thomas, they were fun. And I think what happened was Survivor, social media really started to impact Survivor during season 28. And Survivor had to start to adjust. And they thought Worlds Apart was going to be a hit, and it wasn't. And even though Worlds Apart should be a hit, it wasn't. And Jeff and CBS were like, well, we need to stop because all of a sudden these people have a platform to complain about our show and be very vocal. And Jeff didn't understand, and CBS didn't understand probably more than Jeff. It was a vocal minority. Like most people were just happy to sit down and watch Survivor. But now there was a forum for people to really openly complain. And so what happened was, you have Second Chance, but then you still had Ko-Rong on the horizon, and Ko-Rong was negative. Like Ko-Rong, you have Jason, you have Scott, you have a lot of darkness on that season. So Millennials vs. Gen X is super positive. And they said, okay, let's go with a positive returning player season. And that's why they went with Game Changers. So I think what they were doing is they were almost trying to overcorrect to this super positive version of Survivor that they didn't need to do. Because at the end of the day, they were trying to appease the internet, which is something you
don't do. Yeah. Do not do that.
Can't do. Like we do our whole shares now on the internet. You can't appease the internet. You can't make them happy. There's no way. Every time we'll get 10,000 views on a video, and then we'll get like 7 comments that are like, you don't listen to your fans, idiots. Like you're not taking this into account, blah, 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 blah. And I'm just like, I don't care about those 7 comments. Like I'm going to delete your comment because it's not helpful, but I don't care. And Jeff and production are at such a higher level of that they started listening to the negative, thinking that they could make, sorry, I don't know if that was me. They started listening to the negative, thinking that they could make people, and they just couldn't.
We're in the middle of a storm here. So that's like, if there is any type of lag, it is coming from me. I'm fairly certain. I don't know if you caught all of that.
No, that might have.
Okay. And I
super bad today, and it actually looks like it might be coming to mind.
Oh, okay. So
let me see if I can hotspot.
Okay. No, but I do agree with you. And you would have been perfect on the panel I had last night, where I'm the only person that was anti-Worlds Apart, and every other person's like, yeah, Worlds Apart is fun because of this, that, and the other. And this is one of the last seasons where we have like legitimate villains that are doing villainous things. And I sat there and thought about it, and I slept through it. It's like, yeah, they're right. And so for me, it was always, I don't like when the modern day fandom complains about not having villains, because when someone does do something villainous now, they get all in an uproar. Hey, we're going to, bully Maria for not voting for Charlie. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. It's like, okay, but this is what you want. You are saying that you were upset with Jeff saying that he doesn't want villains. And yes, but you also don't like Worlds Apart. The larger community doesn't like Worlds Apart because of episode 10. But wait a minute, you're telling me that you love villains.
Yeah.
This is a prime example of villainy, and you don't like it because it crosses a line. You guys stand, some people still stand Corinne. I don't know what the larger population of it. You stand Corinne and everything she says during Final Tribal and Gabon in the edited episode. My problem has always been with the fandom and I know the fandom is a generalization, but you know what I'm saying. It's frustrating that the show has decided to kind of bring the show to what those 7 comments. We're going to listen to these 7 comments and go this way, even though these other 9,000 comments are saying, oh man, that was kind of shitty, but like, what a good season. Or that was a crazy move by this person. Yeah, this happened, but like, we can get past that. And that's what Fiji is for me, where Fiji is, I can enjoy Fiji for the most part, and then I turn off like mentally during Final Tribal because I just hate how angry these
Oh
people
yeah, I
are.
mean,
Probably
Lee
drunk.
Seating stuff are ridiculous at Final
Yeah.
Tribal. I
Go ahead.
changed to my hotspot, so hopefully this is better now. I don't know.
Okay.
Our
Yeah.
internet's been funky today. The one thing I want to say about though is like I agree with you 100% on the villains thing. Survivor fans get so up in arms every time Jeff says it, but again, this is just like, and I get in trouble from some of my listeners who are like, "Oh, you say the internet, but like, aren't you on the internet?" It's like I'm literally on the internet to do this podcast, and then I disappear. And yes, I understand, but when I talk about the internet, and I said this on a podcast I just did, when I talk about the internet, I mean the group think people who say something, read something, and think that that is what the entire Survivor community thinks. Like they don't understand that there are 4.8 million people who watch Survivor that don't go on the internet, at least. Like, and you don't even, that's not even taking into account streaming numbers. Like Will and I were talking about it. There could be 10 million people who are watching Survivor every week. When you break it down over the course of 2 years, 10 million people watch that episode. There's about 8 million of those at least who don't have any interest in talking about it online. Like they do not care. And so what happens is you get like this part of the fandom that just wants to argue about everything. And they are online all the time. And it's just breaking it down. And so Jeff says that, but then they're the same people who are like, Stephanie LaGrocia should go to hell, and I hope she dies. And, you know, it's the same people who are saying they want Eliza to get run over by a bus. You know what I mean? Like it's using both arguments for that same example, but it's the same people. Say is coming on the show, and it's all these people saying all this nasty stuff about Say. It's like she's there to entertain you. Like that's what the point of Survivor is.
You want. You want this. You want this.
Yeah, you're claiming you want it, but in reality, everybody just wants to go around and break down other people's lives because at the end of the day, a lot of people are really miserable and they're really, really jealous. And so when other people get to live out a dream that they wish they had, it's, oh, let me go see all the background on this person and see how I can ruin their lives now that they're here. Survivor fans don't want villains. They don't. Like they flat out do not. They just think they do, but they don't. The people offline do, but the people online, they don't want villains at all. They can't handle them.
They want to disagree with Jeff. That's the thing.
That's all they want.
That's what like I didn't realize, and this is sort of a tangent. So I didn't join the online community until COVID. I was just always a Survivor fan. I didn't know that we existed as a larger population. And when I got on, I started realizing, oh, there are fans that don't like this, and there are fans that don't like this. Rick Devens is a prime example. Then I started doing deep dives. It's like, oh, they don't like him because Jeff likes him. That's weird, but I find him very entertaining. I really liked Rick this season. Oh, they're starting to turn on Christian because now he's Hubicki, which means he's one of Jeff's guys, which means we can't like him anymore. Mm-hmm. So why? You like what you like. It's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. And this
not everything is deep.
When I say that Survivor fans turned into Star Wars fans, what is probably more likely is they were always Star Wars fans, and I just didn't realize it until 2021 when I joined the community and realized, hey, these people are crazy.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, and I think like when you're talking to Mario Lanza yesterday and everything like that, it's like it's okay to be entertained by Rodney. People will tell you nowadays it's not, but like it legitimately is okay to sit down and watch that show and be like, oh my God, where'd they find this guy? As Aaron said, where'd they find this jackass? Like where did he come from? It's okay to sit down and watch that because at the end of the day, he gets his comeuppance. Like he does not win. And it's okay to watch a season and watch the villains. Scott Pollard doesn't win. Kyle Jason doesn't win. Like you can watch the villains and you can watch the heroes. Like that's the whole point of all this. And people just take it way too personally. It's like, well, Rodney's a misogynist. It's like, yeah, Rodney is a misogynist, but like, are you going to act? Okay. People make the argument all the time, and I might get in trouble for this one, but they make the argument that if you don't give people a platform, they disappear. It's like those types of people don't disappear. They disappear from watching the stuff that could change their mind. You know, like you should be watching Rodney saying, oh my God, I don't want to be that guy. And if you do feel like you're veering towards that guy, maybe you sit there and you're watching that with your family going, shit, I got to change who I am as a person. And that's what Survivor used to be really good at. You don't just get rid of things by pretending they don't exist. You don't ostrich and put your head in the sand. You have to expose people to it and let people see the ugly sides of it. Now, you never want to go to the level that Varner goes with Zeke, and you never want to go to the level that Spilo goes with. But at the same time, these things can happen on reality TV. How many people sit down and just watch the nonsense of whichever Real Housewives show it is? There you go. The Simple Life. I mean, my God, how do you own that on DVD? What are we doing? It's 2026. But you get my point. It's like people don't they can't separate the art from the artist. And Survivor at the end of the day is still an art form. Like, it is still an entertainment product that is being made that has a lot of really creative and excellent people working on it. And the cast of characters are real people. And you might not like a lot of real people in this world, but you can watch a season and you have to separate, like, am I rooting for them or am I rooting against them? And it's okay to root against. Like, I hate Nayanka. I think Nayanka is one of the worst people to ever play the game. The way she talks about Purple Kelly, it's ableist as hell. At the end of the day,
like,
I understand why Nayanka.
Not even Purple Kelly, the other Kelly.
Oh, I'm sorry, the other Kelly. I know. Sorry.
The other Kelly.
Honestly, Kelly Bruno might have been more boring than Purple Kelly. But like
Purple Kelly.
But it's like, you know, she's so ableist in that season. But at the end of the day, like in season 21, Nayanka was a popular villain. People loved to hate Nayanka.
People still like Nayanka. Oh, I'd love a Nayanka 2.0. It's like, what the hell are you talking about?
Yeah, I would hate that.
Why would you want that? But and you go, and we're gonna get back to Cambodia.
You totally throw me off track.
Yeah, but it's there are only a few players in the show's history where it's like, okay, I can separate game villain from real life. Abby Maria is a prime example of like game villain Abby Maria, her getting the Ponderosa in Philippines, and RC just is having none of it ever. It's like, okay, RC, I think I'm on her side now. But then there are the others. There's the Nayanka, there's, for me, the Russell Hanses, there's the Ben Brownings, the people like that, where it's like, okay, you're probably a shitbag in real life too. Probably. I don't know you, but let's just kind of guess. So bringing all of that back to Cambodia, I just quickly want to point out that we do get for lack of a better phrase, a filler episode. It's the Bion episode of the pre-merge swap, the Monica Padilla episode. And so every time I do this marathon, I always focus on players that I know are going to be returning later, just to kind of see what production may have saw or what they tried to show to the audience. And for Monica, it's always the double boot episode of Samoa, where she basically provokes Russell into being what Russell actually was. And it's like, okay, cool. I can kind of get why she's on the ballot. Having said that, I still don't understand why she was voted in over a T-Bird, over a Stephanie, over even a Sabrina. Like, I understand that One World is not the high held in highest regard, but we've had a lot of people come back from One World, so you might as well give Sabrina that. I brought this up earlier about a lot of characters kind of being buried in the edit because this is what they do in Game Changers. Who do you think was the most egregious as far as like invisible edits this season?
I mean, it's Wigglesworth for sure. I don't think it's really close. But then at the same time, Wigglesworth's last words are, I'm not meant for this game, and I'm good with that. And I think that was good for her. You know, she knew that she wasn't giving them what they wanted, and that was kind of a thing. If I'm thinking about it beyond Wigglesworth, like if I'm trying to think of somebody else who made the post-merge, I actually don't think it's as poorly edited as people say it is. I think that, you know, Jeremy starts to become obvious towards the end. But at the same time, like, Kelly Wentworth always feels like a viable winner. Always. But Keith doesn't, Kimmy doesn't, Spencer doesn't, Tasha doesn't. Really, other than Wigglesworth, it's probably Kimmy, because if Kimmy pulls off the 3-2-1 vote, like, I talked to Stephen Fishback during 50. He's like, no, Kimmy could have gotten votes at that final tribal council. Like, there's a chance she could win the game. So I would say Kimmy probably doesn't get the credit she deserves, but Kimmy was giving answers like it was 2001 rather than what they wanted at this point. Like, the show is so polished by season 31. If I ask you a question, Drew, of like, hey, what's your favorite season? your response is supposed to be, my favorite season of Survivor is Millennials versus Gen X. Like, you're supposed to answer in complete sentences. Kimmy was answering like it was back in the day, where it was just quick soundbite, quick soundbite, quick soundbite. And you do notice that as you watch through these seasons, some of the people who don't play for a long time, they're giving different style confessionals. I think that's why a lot of them get left out of the edit, because the way that Survivor wants the confessionals to be done is so much better. And that's why somebody like Rick Devens and Christian Ubicki, they're always dominating screen time, because they give production exactly what they want. They answer in complete sentences, and that is huge. It really is.
I brought this up with Jervis in Blood versus Water, where he keeps referring to the merge as the merger, because the last time he played it was the merger. And I don't know why it took me until this time watching to realize that he's still using this phrasing that was only around for the first few seasons of the show. It got the merge episode. Yeah, the merge episode of Survivor, of the first season of Survivor, is called The Merger. But the fact that Jervis is still referring to it in season 27, yes, I think adds to what you were saying there. We get to the right before the merge, we do get the last time that we're going to get the food challenge. A challenge that I feel like a lot of people kind of pine for. And correct me if I'm wrong, I'm fairly certain that's the last time we get the food challenge.
No,
but
we get it in Ghost Island.
Do we really?
Yeah, because remember, Angela's trying to swallow the grub without chewing it.
Remember Ghost Island? I haven't watched it in 2 years. It's the only season that I have okay. So
it's a classic image of Angela taking the damn huge bug and trying to eat it without chewing it, and she gets it like halfway down her throat and then has to pull it out.
Wow. Okay. So I'm gonna get to Ghost Island a little. What I really want to talk about with that challenge is one of my favorite callbacks this season of Kimmy still not being willing to, break her, she doesn't eat meat, she doesn't eat live animals. And I feel like for me, this is both as a fan that watches it the way that I do, but also as just watching Survive the Australian Outback at 11, 12 years old, and then watching Cambodia and however old I was at that point. It's like, that's a fun moment. That's a fun little moment right here of like, some things just don't change.
Yeah.
And I'm fine with that. I'm fine with, if Kelly had lost the rafting challenge, I don't think she's a shit rower or anything. It's just funny that she lost the same challenge in 2 different seasons. Do you feel like they tried to lean too heavily into that storyline this season?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think that at this point, here's what's happening with Survivor. If I were to say to you right now, name every Super Bowl winner in order, you would probably not be able to do that. Now, if I said, maybe you could, but it would be hard. And if I said to you, name every Super Bowl winner in order, now name who they beat, now name who they beat in the AFC Championship, now name who won the NFC Championship or lost the NFC Championship as well, right? So now I'm asking you for the final 4 teams every year, which seems like a big deal, right? That's the point Survivor is getting to. And I think that's one of the problems that we're having, is that it's really hard at this point for a lot of people to remember what was going on in season 1, season 2, because we have 50 seasons. That doesn't mean they're not Survivor fans, but like, I'm an NFL fan. I consider myself an NFL fan. I know the Packers won the first Super Bowl.
I was going to say, I'm a Packer fan, so that I like the first.
Yeah. I don't know who won the 9th Super Bowl. Like, I couldn't tell you that, but I know Chris Doherty won the 9th season of Survivor. But there's a lot of people who can't do that. And so what I think was really good about the timing of Second Chance, see, there's a point to this. I'm not going on a full tangent. What was really nice about the timing of Second Chance was we still remembered those early seasons. It was only 15 years before this. That felt like a long time. We have to remember also 5 years before this, we had just watched Heroes versus Villains. So everybody's fresh in our mind. Colby is fresh in our mind. Jerry is fresh in our mind. These people from Australia. This was also when, at a time, it was really popular to go buy the DVDs and people were doing it. And you might have had the old DVDs from when you bought them after the seasons first aired. And now you have a collection and you're saying, oh, Kimmy and Jeff are going to be on this season. Let me go watch Australia again. And it was something you could do. I think with season 50, it's hard to do that because while you and I will remember that Kimmy, I can eat a worm. Like, we're going to remember that. my mom's going to go, I have no idea who this is. My parents, I got on the phone with them. They said, who's Angelina? We don't remember this person. I said, well, she's not being her usual self. You remember from David Scott. I started naming all of her highlight moments, and they're like, I don't remember that at all. And it's like, oh, go on the internet. And so I do think that we just have we have 50 seasons now. It's hard to do that. But I think with 31, they had the right timing. You were allowed to do some of these callbacks, and I think it worked.
Just two last things from the pre-merge. One very funny, one obviously not as funny, or not even funny at all. Abby's reaction to Woo's story, hilarious, because it's just one of these Abby Maria moments where it's like, okay, she doesn't get it, and I don't care because this is hilarious. Yeah. The other thing is the Terry evacuation with his son, which up to this point in the season, it is good guy Terry. Like it is very good guy Terry of like, oh, I think my son put this dossier together, everyone, and I'm just having a good time. I'm white knighting for Abby down here because Shireen and PG are making fun of her. Terry is one of these characters that I personally wasn't excited to have back, and in his 5-6 episodes that he gets, it's like, no, I'm all right with what I got of Terry right here. Like Terry at the merge, he probably gets in the Cool Kids Alliance and gets taken out at some point or another. But I like Terry for what he gave to the show in this season.
If Terry gets to that merge with Joe and with Savage and with Jeremy, I think Terry could have won the season. Like, I know people will not agree with that. I think what's really fascinating is people are like, well, he was the next person voted out of his tribe anyway. No, the edit is telling you he was the next person voted out of his tribe so that it doesn't hurt as much when he gets pulled from the game. Joe Englund was not voting out Terry Dietz there. No. Joe Englund wanted Terry Dietz as a shield, and he also knew Terry Dietz was willing to take him to the end. Like, Terry Dietz is the kind of guy who would have sat there at Final 3 with Joe Englund and Jeremy and said, let's do this shit. Like, that's who he thinks are the biggest competitors, and that's what he would do. I think Terry's social game is really great this season. I think he does a great job. He has to navigate the whole Vetus situation early on where everybody wants Vetus out, and he has a relationship with Vetus because he played with Aris. But I think that the biggest mistake Survivor made, I really believe this, not bringing him back for Game Changers is crazy because Terry Dietz got voted into this cast. So why does Troyzan, who I love, and Brad, who I think is very underrated, why do they get to come back for Game Changers and Terry doesn't? When Terry was voted in and had his time cut short, like, that wasn't a full experience. It wasn't even a medevac. This is something we've never seen in the show's history at any other time, with the exception of Jenna Maraska. But it's like Terry had no choice but to leave the game. And Terry, we voted for, the public voted for him to get in. What was it that they didn't like about him they didn't think was clicking? Because I thought he was clicking. I thought it was all clicking. And I think he should have been on Game Changer. I think that's a massive mistake. I think the way they handled Terry Dietz post-Panama, I think, is one of the biggest missed opportunities Survivor's ever had. He almost won Panama because he went on in the most insane immunity challenge run. And yes, he had the super run, but he went on one of the most insane immunity challenge runs ever. And they don't bring him back for so long. Because really Ozzy took his spot on Fans versus Favorites because Ozzy won all those immunities the next season, but unbelievably popular on what was a very popular season at the time. Look at what Sari became. And she finished one spot behind Terry the first time. And Sari versus Terry was a very, very big head-to-head the whole season. So I think it's a massive missed opportunity.
I take Terry over James in Heroes vs. Villains. I was kind of sitting there going through my head of like, what hero would I replace with James or with Terry? I think it would be James, and I'm going to make my
too.
Yeah. But I feel like because Token Jeans is fresh in everyone's head, I'll give him that pass for that. And I'm going to bring up James in a little bit for a different reason. The merge episode. It's I feel like for me is one of those editing things of, okay, so why besides Savage saying, I don't like the fact that Sierra does this quick little moment where Sierra says, oh, Savage says he was gonna buy on his done or whatever, or Tasha saying it too. It kind of, the storyline we have this episode just kind of feels rushed. It doesn't feel like we're leading up to this moment, because pre-merge it kind of feels like we're leading into, maybe we're going to get rid of Joe, maybe we're going to do this, maybe we're going to do that, and then all of a sudden the merge episode is, oh, it's Tasha versus Cass and Sierra versus Savage. Where did this kind of come from? I know you said that you're more high on the editing merge than a lot of other people are. What are some of those moments, throughout the merge that you feel like people kind of discredit, as far as when you see people say, oh, the merge of Cambodia is a bunch of this? Where do you kind of fight back on?
I feel like the biggest problem was Cass didn't go to tribal councils. I think that's the biggest issue. So they didn't really know how to edit the Cass moment. And then Savage was the star of the season before he goes. So when Savage goes out 9-3 at final 12, you're like, oh shit, what are we supposed to do now? So I feel like, I agree with you. Like the first episode post merge isn't great. And then the pieces start to come together. But what I love about the post merge of this season, because a lot of people think like, oh, Jeremy just becomes obvious. What I think is amazing about this is Cass goes, then Savage has the epic blindside against him, right? He goes out at 12. And then at 11, Kelly Wigglesworth goes. And Sierra is able to convince them all to vote out Kelly Wigglesworth without needing to do idols or anything. Like it was a 9-3 disadvantage. And now it's still 8-3. And Sierra and Kelly, and it's really Sierra who does the legwork, is able to convince them to do this. And then Sierra convinces everybody to give her the majority to vote out Stephen Fishback at final 10. Now, Sierra ultimately goes home because she gets the second most amount of votes because Jeremy plays the idol on Fishback. But I think that there is a stretch in this post-merge where it's just incredible gameplay. Like, I really do think it's great gameplay, but I think the gameplay is so good, it actually ruins Survivor moving forward because Jeff tries to force this level of gameplay onto everybody else out there who goes to play for the first time, and you're just not going to get that. And you can't force that. And that's why I think older seasons work better, because there was a difference.
People are doing things because they're not doing it because they feel like they're being egged on, or because, like I don't dislike Sierra. So like but they don't feel like, hey, well, Sierra's saying we got to make a big move, so we got to make a big move. I feel like it does come from, hey, Survivor is all about, and I know I've gone on this, me and you both have gone on this tangent a lot tonight, but like, it feels like they're interfering to the point where it doesn't feel real a lot of the time. It kind of feels like we're being forced almost to do these things. If we don't have, to use that word, if we don't do this in our season, we're probably going to be portrayed as less than.
Well, and Sierra Easton deserves the credit for creating that. Like, Sierra Easton made this happen because her game in Blood versus Water, the first time, she starts to realize, like, I don't want to go to the end just to lose. I want to go to the end to win. I got to make moves. I got to do what I have to do. And like, that's why she does the rock. And like, Sierra plays a hell of a game in Blood versus Water. And honestly, on my rewatch of these seasons, I'm not watching in 50 days because I'm not a psychopath like you. But as I watch these seasons pretty much once a month, Sierra might be the most underrated player maybe in the history of the show at this point, because people now disregard her because she was the first boot of Game Changers, and they figure, oh, she voted out, but it was Blood versus Water. No, she got 10th. Again, your box score watching. Sierra's game on this season is crazy. And it really does change the perspective of what Survivor is going to be, because she's the one who's constantly saying big moves, resume, all these different things, which was kind of instilled in her by like the moms in Blood versus Water who were like, no, Sierra, you got to do this, sweetie. Like, you got to go get this done. And so all of this conversation, it flips on a dime. And as Mario Lanza said in the X message to me today, he responded to my one thing saying like Second Chance pretty much ended Survivor. It's why it became what it became. It's really Sierra Easton who does it. And you think about it, you have your really big characters in Survivor history. Hatch, obviously, right away. Sister Nino, right away. Rupert, not so much from a strategic standpoint, but still a massive important player. Then you get maybe to Sari, Parv, like you can start saying them, although I don't think people really understood their brilliance until their second or third times playing. And Russell Hantz. And after that, you start to say to yourself, well, who are the other really important, like change the way Survivor was played characters, Sierra Easton might be the top of the list after Russell. And I argue Hatch, Sesternino, Russell, Sierra Easton, that might be like if you were to say, okay, here's your peaks and here's your stuff between, but like who are your Rushmores of kind of changing the direction of how Survivor would play? I think those might be the 4 people.
I can't argue, as big of a Russell Hantz hater as I am, I can't argue that. Because so I guess for me it would be probably like Hatch, Sesternino, Chris, and Vanuatu, Russell, Sierra, Tony, and who after that,
like who are the people that Jeff and production said after they played, we need to figure out how to make the game be played more like the way they just played it. And I think that's what Hatch, Sesternino, Russell, and Sierra, that's why they come to mind. Even with Tony came out and played, but remember, Spencer was the fan favorite there. So like they didn't necessarily want everybody to come out and play like Tony. They still wanted people. Aubrey in 32, they wanted people to play more like, because Aubrey kind of fit into the Sierra Easton.
They start casting the archetype at least the archetype of Aubrey afterwards. And once again, kind of forget, like not realizing, hey, we like this whole thing, not just, oh, it's this, we should do more. It's like, no, give us, as much as I dislike people's hatred of post-COVID Survivor, I do understand their qualms with it. And my only pushback is these problems have existed for longer than y'all are saying. It didn't start in 41. It started in 31, maybe. It started in, depending on how old school you are, this has always been a problem. You've just chosen to hate on this now because, yes.
If David versus Goliath wasn't in there legitimately would not be a great season of Survivor from 34 to 50. I mean that. Like, and I think 47 is close. Like, and maybe these can be great seasons. I have to watch them again.
Great. Yes, I agree. Great season. Yes, I agree.
But I think the problem is for a lot of people, they forget how bad the back half of the 30s were, or at least how unpopular they were and how it was. I mean, I think Heroes, Healers, Hustlers is actually a pretty good season, but a lot of people hated that season. Game Changers, people didn't like. Ghost Island was a disaster. Edge of Extinction is not very good. Island of the Idols isn't very good. Winners at War is kind of a, David versus Goliath being in there because it happened so late makes people think like, oh, the 30s were so good. To me, the 30s really stopped being good after Millennials versus Gen X. At least stopped being great. You get one season here or there, but it's like you're saying, the problems that exist in the 40s started really with Millennials versus Gen X. Millennials versus Gen X was just the best version of it. And then you see kind of the disaster scenario start to unfold. You just had lightning strike with 37.
Yeah, nostalgia goggles. People watched Survivor all during COVID, and it's like, oh, this is what Survivor is. It's like, yeah, and this is kind of what we're getting now. They just see that y'all seem to enjoy advantages and all these other things, so they're going to give you more, and they're going to give you 3 tribes because of this, and they're going to do this, and they're going to do that because it seems like y'all like this, right? Like we're not confused in saying that. I know that we're on a time crunch here, so I will try to kind of get through some of this. Obviously, when you think second chances, you think the second boot of the merge, the Andrew Savage vote out the Kelly Wentworth will not count. What I forget every time I watch this episode is it's also the Toto episode, the Tuk Tuk, the whatever you want to. It is just Keith Nail being peak Keith Nail until the end game, where we kind of lose Keith after this until he gives the confession about Survivor ain't fun, and then we get to basically the finale. But this is just one of those wholesome moments of, okay, I am enjoying this. You just have all these people on this reward. We're kind of talking about strategy, but not really. We're just gonna have fun with these, and it was when I think Joe says in 10 years Keith will be here and blah blah blah. And I'm like, damn, that hit hit hard to me.
And then when he's watching when he's at the Cambodia temple and he's watching the dancers,
it
man,
hit hard.
I'm getting chills. I'm getting chills.
It hit hard.
I love Keith, and Keith's another one. Like, you're allowed to have Keith Nails on the show because Keith almost won the game twice, and people will deny that, but he almost won the game twice. Like, he really was close. That jury in San Juan del Sur, those guys are probably voting for Keith. Like, Wes is, Alec is, Josh maybe is, if Jeremy's, if like, he doesn't care about Natalie. Like, I think that there was a lot of votes going to Keith if Keith was there. And so, yeah, you're allowed to have Keith Nails. That's allowed. But the other thing I want to bring up about this episode, Savage is the reason they don't split the votes, because they were all worried that Savage was going to team up with Tasha and they were going to blindside, was it Joe or Steven, out of the game. And they thought that was going to happen, and they didn't want that to happen. So that's why they don't split the votes. Because if they would have given the split, it would have been 5-4-3, right? And then if Savage and Tasha flip, now it is 5-4-3. One of their people go home. So that's why they don't split, because they were nervous about, oh, well, what about this? No, they were nervous about Savage. So Savage actually goes home because they were nervous about him flipping on everybody, which is just funny.
I talked about this with on Kagian with John specifically and Kyle about I hate being on the internet for Survivor because you learn a lot of the backstory to things, specifically the Trish speech in Kagian. Here,
I don't buy Cass's bullshit on that, by the way. But go
ahead. All right.
I don't buy it. I think she wants attention.
Here, I still love the Wentworth moment, but it's also like, oh, but she kind of knew what was going to happen because, and it doesn't take away from it, but it's just, I watch it through different lenses now, and it's still one of my favorite moments in the show's history. For you don't have to do a whole ranking or anything, but just like to this day, where does Wentworth, does that count kind of go for you?
Oh, it's top 5, but it also breaks my heart because I loved Savage. Like, I wanted Savage to win this season. Savage and Terry, like I said, those were my two guys coming into the season. That was my rooting interest. So to lose Terry the way I did, and then at final 12, lose Savage, and Savage was in such a good spot. Like, if Savage gets through this vote, Savage was in such a good spot to go far. I don't know if he would have won, but I'll tell you what, Savage delivers as a character on this season too. So yeah, Savage. That's fine. That's the only thing.
Story. His meet cute story. Just proper hilarious.
So over the top.
Savage's fit on the jury also amazing. Yeah. I'll text you about something that I have to say about that a little later. Joe, the season kind of turns into everyone versus Joe.
Yeah.
Well, sort of. And for me, Joe's never done it. Like I've never kept, I said this last night where it's like, okay, if you give me Ozzy, James, and Joe, it probably goes in that order because at least Ozzy and James have character moments. Mm-hmm. Joe has always been the great white hope that can't do anything else. And this is the best performance he's going to give in a season. And we're still going to get him back in 38. Are you a Joey Amazing person or whatever we're calling him now? And do you think that him winning challenges this season does make him a end game threat? Like everyone's kind of trying to make it, at least the editor's trying to make it out to seem.
No, Joe took up a spot, in my opinion. Troyzan or Shane would have rather seen either one of them on over Joe, but Joe with the recency bias. I don't even think Joe is all that impactful on Worlds Apart, to be totally honest. I do find Joe's game to be more entertaining here, though. The clutchness of winning those immunities and the fact that he survives a tribal council. Yes, Joe Mena is better. But the fact that he survives a tribal council at, whatever, and without having immunity, that impressed me a little bit. And honestly, the pitch he makes at final 8 about like why he should stay makes sense. And like, I'm not a big Joe fan. I don't think I needed to see Joe play a third time for sure. There's other people I wish would have had a second chance over Joe. I do get why some people like Joe, but I don't think he would have won the game, but I do think he was so good at challenges that he actually could have been the guy who won like 8 of them before all was said and done. I mean, he passed out. That's why he lost. Because Keith now randomly was good at some bullshit challenge, because that's what Keith is good at. And Joe just passed out. And that was it. Like, his body literally failed him. That's why you don't drink alcohol in Survivor, kids.
Just to kind of skip through sort of the rest of this mid merge.
Oh, you do a couple. No, you could go a little bit. You're okay. Yeah, you're good.
Okay. One, sorry, Abby. Another one of my favorite moments in the show. Just Fishback. Whether on purpose or not, great moment. No negotiations when it comes to, hey, we will fix your shelter if 5 of you drop out. I think I was shocked this time that there was no like, hey, can we do 4 or 3? Like try to meet him in the middle because because San Juan del Sur had just happened, within the last year. Go ahead.
This pretty much happens because of Ko-Rong. And this is where watching in the out of order way that they filmed screws everything up. Ko-Rong was so brutal that they were like, we need to build them a shelter. And they were, we'll do whatever it takes to build you a shelter. And I think that I don't know this, but I almost feel like there was like no negotiation. I think it was like, guys, you need to take this. You guys need to go sit out. And I think a lot of people were so dead that they were like, yes, this is worth it. And that's because Ko-Rong was just such a brutal place. So when you watch this in 31, you're like, these are returning players. Why do they need this like professional shelter built? And then when you watch 32, you're like, oh, this was a disaster. That's why 3 people
died and a couple other ones were almost there.
Yeah, like, exactly. Exactly.
And Steven on this season is dying in at least 2 different ways that we're shown. Joe passes out. There's somebody else. I'm like, okay, the big meme of you think Survivor's fake, and you show the picture of Spencer before this when season started, and at the end of it, it's like, okay, yeah, this man is clearly malnourished. This is on in real time. This is our second to last time outside of Fiji, and this is our in real time. This is our last time in Fiji,
and it makes sense why it is, because I mean Ko-Rong really did if Caleb dies on Ko-Rong, Survivor doesn't exist.
And
he really was like, that's the closest I think somebody's ever come to dying on Survivor.
106, 107, right? Like he was there.
Yeah, he was cooking from the inside.
He changed the game enough to come back the next season, but really, or 2 seasons later. We already talked about the steal a vote. Final 6. We're gonna do final 6, and then we're gonna kind of start wrapping up here. Final 6. I would have preferred a rock draw. Because, and this is where my bias of hating idols kind of comes into play. I think for me, Jeff is having so much fun with the chalkboard during the reunion that by the time we get like, oh yeah, isn't this such good shit?
He says, Drew? What's the line he says? We always want to keep it in the hands of our players.
Oh no, yeah, yes, he does. And so we get that, and it's like, okay, once again, this is one of those moments where I feel like, oh, they took the wrong message from what happened, because in Game Changers, the worst version of this, what could possibly happen, happens in Game Changers, and it continues to trickle into the 40s with some of the votes that we get in the 40s of, hey, because there are so many things in this game, we're just gonna have to, at least to the audience, we're just gonna have to make up shit on the fly. I know there's a rule book, because he says there's a rule book, and it's law of diminishing returns, where like, yeah, this is fun, but literally the next time we get something like this, it's no longer fun. And it's not even just because it's 3. It's just because how are we going to lose someone because everyone else has have these magic trinkets? And this is why I would just preferred a straight up rock draw. There are no idols played. And we just kind of say, fuck it, we ball and see what happens.
Yeah. Well, because it was so exciting in Blood versus Water too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The Blood versus Water is one of the best moments in that season. In Blood versus Gen X, I would say of the 3 rock draws, probably the least exciting, and it's still exciting enough, and you feel bad for Jeff on the way out. And then the first one kills Pascal.
Yeah,
like he's on the ground by the end of it. I would take a rock draw here. What do you think?
Honestly, best case scenario for this season, Kimmy's plan works. Kimmy, Keith, Kelly vote for Jeremy. Jeremy doesn't know it's coming. They try to do the vote split. Like, her plan was perfect because it was going to be a 2-2-2, and she had put herself in a position. And if that had worked, that's the best case scenario. I think this is where having so many idols left in the game late in the game is bad. Having too many advantages that can go too late. And if you do notice, like in like the 50 and in the 40s, there are more advantages that'll expire at 7, or like, oh, this idol's only good for 2 or whatever. And I think some of that was because, as much as Jeff will talk like it's a positive that Cirie went out the way she did, it's not. It's not a positive the way Cirie went out. And so I think that they started to realize, like, wait, we can't have everybody have everything at final 6 or final 5, because then you're just going to have people automatically going home. And yeah, like, it's good to be able to hold your idols for that long. But like the way Kelly found hers was she picked up the right box at the right time or whatever, the right urn. And then Jeremy goes on that stupid night march thing, which makes no sense. Like, I don't know. For me, it's just very... I get why they had to do it the way they did it, but I almost feel like it should have, what they really should do at that point with the way Survivor goes nowadays. And like, once you got to the point where if there's less than 3 people, or if there's 3 people or fewer who are eligible to go home, you should almost say, okay, the 2 people who got the votes draw a rock, and that's it. Tasha or Kimmy, one of you is going home. Keith, you're safe. Because like Keith being punished for that is kind of stupid, because he didn't win immunity and he's not one of the 2 people to get votes, and he's not one of the 2 people to play idols. Like, that's just dumb. It's just dumb.
I agree. And so Kimmy goes to the house. Keith tries to go to the house. Kimmy goes to the house instead. Keith goes to the house next, though, because I do feel like they kind of, well, one, we have a 3 that are definitely going to the end together, but also I do feel like they kind of read that Keith, for his second season in a row, could potentially win the game by doing the honesty, integrity route. Like,
and
this is one
so they can't get rid of her at 5. So that helps.
Exactly. So we lose Kelly in some motion, and I kind of want to bounce back to something real quick. The family visit of It's a Boy, because the 2, us shitting on the fandom for as long as we have tonight, the 2 winners that I feel like people always say, oh, this person won it finally because of something they said at the end, and it's not Todd or Chris or anything like that. It's Jeremy and Adam. So they only won because of what they said at the end. It's like, well, no, we know that that's not the case. And even if we're just watching the edited episode, it's kind of clear that that's not the case. But we get the It's a Boy moment with Val earlier in the season. And so we get to Final Tribal, which I think all 3 of them do very, especially Tasha this time around. I really enjoyed how she's answering a lot of these questions. I still obviously know that Jeremy's going to win, but I still feel like everyone plans on voting for Jeremy anyway. What do you think of this perception that, oh, Jeremy only won because he found out he was going to be dad for the 3rd time, and this time it's going to be a boy? The part of the fandom that thinks he only won unanimously because of this.
Yeah, those people are stupid. 10-0, 10-0 in both cases. It's 10-0, 10-0. Like, it didn't matter. I mean, Brett, I've interviewed so many people from season 33, and they will all say the goal is to get to the end with Ken and Hannah. That's how Brett would say it. But like, it was Brett and Hannah. Get to the end with Brett and Hannah. Maybe they get a vote. Maybe they get 2 votes. It didn't matter. Like, everybody on that jury was going to vote for Adam because they all built better relationship. And maybe Taylor votes a different way. I don't know. But like, that's really it. And then if you look at this season, nobody was voting for Spencer. And maybe Tasha had a chance to get a vote, but I think most people had just thrown Tasha out because they thought she was riding coattails, which I don't necessarily think was true, but they just had thrown her out already. I think it's 10-0, 10-0 in both cases. And if you think that there was any chance either Adam or Jeremy was going to lose if these 2 things didn't come up at the final tribal council, you are not an intelligent person. I'm sorry. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I don't mean to be like rude or whatever, but like, I have to say this all the time. Like, you are flat out wrong. Like, you're wrong.
I don't get upset often. Oh, actually, no, that's a lie. I get upset often when a lot of
I get upset often too.
Yeah. I will say that when that happens, I get so overly upset that I have to like pull myself from a situation, because it's like, that's just the dumbest Survivor take that. And I love hearing people's takes on Survivor. I don't want to hear that. It's not because he was having a boy. That's dumb. Just for lack of a better phrase, that is a dumb reason for you to think that Jeremy somehow just miraculously swept this jury of all-stars who are probably still kind of pissed at him for certain things.
Yeah.
Oh, shit. Notes. This is Abby's drunk during the jury phase or during her speech. Obviously, this is the smartest version of the answering a question of give me a number between 1 and 10, because every other season they've done such drastic numbers that it's like, okay, why don't you say the number in front? Jeremy says 2, Tasha says 3, Spencer says 4. It's the smartest way to
for Jeremy no matter what, so it didn't matter.
Yeah, but it's just, if you actually believe this person is going to go based off of the number, just say the next closest number, because you're probably going to win.
Yeah,
and Jeremy, obviously, like you said, we kind of we get a sweep of the jury here. It's a fake perfect game because it gets votes negated, whatever that means. I hope he gets on a jet ski. One of my favorite moments ever. And as we kind of start to wind up here, are there 32 people that you feel like in 2027 maybe could go on a ballot, realistically go on a ballot, that people would know that we could vote on something like, because you brought up earlier, like, hey, I kind of wish they would do something like this again. Do you think there are 32 people that we could kind of do this with where it would make sense, where we're not just scraping bottom of the barrel?
Yes, but nobody from before season 20 would get on if it's voted. It wouldn't happen because nobody's going to remember any of the people who only played once from preseason 20. I'm sorry. Like, it's just not going to happen. And I think that would be something that people would have to live with knowing. I also think that if they did this, it would be mostly people from the 40s. I think it would be some people from the 30s, but you've used up a lot of your good people from the 30s. You used Christian, you used Angelina. Angelina's not coming back. You used Chrissy, who was a big question mark. You used Devins. Honestly, I think you have a better chance of just like, hey, here's 10 people, 12 people who are going to be on one tribe. You guys vote in the next 12. I think that's what you have a better chance of. So that Survivor can say, no, we want Hubicki back. We want Devins back. We want, Genevieve and Tiffany back. And then they turn around and say, okay, now you guys can vote for the rest. And then that's maybe where they throw in some other people. But I don't think, like I said, I think season 31 was the perfect time to do this. And I also think Survivor would never limit themselves to a second chance season again, because you remove winners and you remove people that have played more than once. And you don't want to do that, especially after 50. You want to be able to build legacies. Rizzo's got to play at least 2 more times. Like, he has to.
He has to. Some people are saying, oh, he's the face of the new era. It's like, okay. I don't personally agree, but I don't hate the argument.
Yeah.
Because I am someone that kind of came around to Rizzo maybe 4 episodes into 49. Final 2 questions. Well, final 3 questions. 1, final thoughts on Survivor Cambodia.
I like it. I think it's overrated. I actually think I enjoyed it more on my latest rewatch, but I still think it's very overrated. I think that the boot order is tough. And I think that the gameplay is excellent, but this season I do agree with Mario Lanza starts Survivor on a trajectory we didn't want it to go down, and I don't think it's ever recovered.
Yeah. Last time I did this, Cambodia finished 3rd. Through 31 seasons, it's already at 7. I have it right
for
behind
your personal ranking.
For my personal rankings, yeah. Right now, I have it behind Philippines and in front of Tocantins.
Are you ready for this real quick? Here, I'll tell you.
Yeah, please.
It's a little peek behind it's a peek behind the Patreon curtain. I have this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12th out of the first 32 seasons. And Millennials vs. Gen X will be above this. So it's really going to be 13th out of the first 33 seasons.
And has it dropped for you throughout the years, or has it always just kind of been?
Honestly, I think it went up a little bit. I was never high on it, mainly because of the boot order. Again, Terry, Savage, like honestly, Varner. Like, I was excited for a lot of these older school players. And then like Kelly and Kimmy are the ones who go the furthest, and we barely hear from either of them. I wanted the older school people to dominate. And like once Fishback went on, I'm like, well, shit, there goes all my rooting interest with 8 people left in the game. I like Jeremy, but yeah, that definitely hurt it. I think Kelly Wentworth being as much of a stud as she became, like, and I think that helps. So that's like more of a positive. It's more fun to watch Kelly Wentworth now. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's probably, it's going to end up 15 to 20 when all is said and done. And that's, that's lower than most people would put it.
Yes. Okay. So then the final 2 questions. 1, who would your ally be this season?
Oh, Terry, 100%. 100%. Like, not even close. Me and him would have killed it. We would have absolutely killed it. No doubt about it. And I would have never voted him out, and I would want to play with him because I know he would never vote me out. He's not going to think strategically like that. So, Terry.
I probably pick Keith.
Okay.
Just because I was like, hey, Keith, we're just doing this, and that's
but Keith's gonna spill the beans, man.
Just Keith, don't send me to the house. Yeah. The second question is something that the modern day fandom would not like about Survivor Cambodia.
Something that the modern day fandom wouldn't like about Survivor Cambodia. God, I'm gonna go ahead and I am gonna say the final 6, that vote, and the way that shook out. Because even though that was super exciting at the time, and like you kind of broke it down, the modern day fandom would be so annoyed by that. Because, like, let's say you watch the 40s, now you go back and watch that, you're like, oh God, once again, Survivor putting their hand, oh, this is so annoying. I hate this. I think the final 6 vote probably doesn't hit as hard for people who don't like, this now. And now, however, if you're asking me, like, this is modern day fandom who can give a shit about the early seasons, they don't like that Kelly Wigglesworth and Kimmy took up spots on this cast.
And I agree with that last part. The first part, I feel like is even bigger for me. And I said this for Blood versus Water, where as much stuff is happening in Blood versus, it seems like everyone's getting along pretty well. It doesn't seem, at least from what we're being shown, it seems like it's fairly kumbaya. One of the reasons, at least on screen, that Colton hates the shit is because everyone's getting along so well. And I feel like Cambodia is the same story. Like when the idol gets played the second time, Kelly's second idol gets played, and Jeremy's like, oh, you like, they're just having fun. I feel like the modern fandom, which we've talked a lot more than probably Cambodia tonight, would be like, oh, they're just getting along. That's crazy. Why don't they? Because they think they want these types of moments until Will screams at Shireen, and then it's like, no, this is bad, and we don't want this.
Or Savage flips off Abby Maria when she said, at least she made the jury, and everybody's like, Savage is evil. It's like, no, Savage is pissed because she's taunting him.
Yeah, he just got voted out. But he did make the jury. Phil, what do we have going on this summer on The Specialists?
Nonstop, man. John and McKenna are doing Bitter or Better, where they discuss the first juror. They're doing that for 10 weeks, 5 episodes, or 5 jurors every week, and they're going in order. So they did 1 through 5. They're doing 6 through 10 tomorrow. I'm doing Winning Survivor with Once Upon an Island. We are going through also the winners of Survivor, what it took to win Survivor in the early seasons all the way through now, also doing 5 players per episode. We're doing a winner ranking, which I hate doing, but it's coming. It's going to start on June 30th. It's going to be 5 parts going from June 30th through to the end of July. So that's coming. And Blake and I next week are going to do a how to binge Survivor in chronological order. And we're going to talk about what's important for you to actually know when you're binging it, because you've obviously done this now so many times, but I think so many people go back and they're like, I'll start with season 1, and they lose a lot of what was important in the society and why these seasons were important. So that's what we're going to be doing. And yeah, we'll do a couple other one-offs. We got some random things going on. But that's really it. A lot going on. Excited. I'm excited that it's a normal off season compared to last year. I'll take a little bit less money to not be like, holy shit, we're putting out 5 episodes a week and it's June and July. This is supposed to be our slow time. So here we are.
And I told John the other day, like, I look forward to like when I can get maybe an hour to like catch up on the first juror, because it's such an interesting concept. And then obviously I'll be tuning in for the winners. Thank you so much, Phil, for doing this with me. You know, we were one of the first people I hit up when I decided, once Coach got voted out at 50, I'm like, okay, I can officially do this. Once Coach got voted out at 50, Phil, thank you so much. You've been such a pleasure to have and be able to collaborate with over the last 6 to 7 years. I hope to continue in the future in a non-50 seasons and 50 days realm. Thank you to, once again, everyone in my Instagram messages, everyone on Twitter, everyone that has supported both with care packages or what have you. I really appreciate it. I'm living off that right now. I'm going to have a box of cereal after this. We will be back tomorrow for Survivor Co-Wrong, our last season on screen of not being in Fiji. Until then, thank you very much.